In this lesson, we will explain the dynamics in this scene. These little squares are not dispersed now. If we want them to disperse, truly disperse, we must apply dynamics to them. In Cinema 4D, the dynamics are very convenient and fast. Let's first see what dynamics are by creating a new composition. Using this simple composition, we are starting a new project. And in this new project, create a new plane, let it serve as the ground. Thank you. We made several copies of it. Create a new small file. Creating clone objects, we clone them in the form of a grid to close in. Put it a little online, then the squares are a bit smaller. Clone it a bit more. We now have so many little squares. If we want it to fall realistically, so at this time, we need to add a label to it, simulate a label, and set it as a rigid body to let it know it will fall. Then for this plane, in the simulation label, we add a collider. The dynamics module of CCD is very important, and there is a lot of knowledge. We will have a specialized one later. A very detailed explanation is still aimed at friends with a certain foundation. Now, if we play, this little cube will fall as a whole without scattering. We need to tell this software that is his inheritance tag. Under normal circumstances, it won't inherit downwards, meaning the cloned object as a whole falls like a brick. Here, we can apply subsets, meaning these small squares are scattered. But why haven't they scattered yet? When we play it, he still didn't respond. This is because its elements are not independent. Now, all these little blocks are a whole. We changed it so that all of them are independent now. When we play it, this small block disperses. For this small cube, we add simulation tags inside, and now the little blocks we cloned will collide with this collider. Very realistic. Why does it fall? Because in dynamics, at the end, its activation form is immediate. That is, it starts right away. There are many ways here. The second method is to shrink. What does another lockdown mean? Right now, these little blocks haven't moved at all. If we say we add one to it, the random consumer now, they will be random. And then, so I give a decay to the random smell organ, say spherical. Everyone knows roughly the time. Then, I validate the random effector. Around frame 100, I made it move here. Then to increase its speed, when there is a change at the peak, its dynamics are activated and we play. Touching it, clues are almost gone. This is being enriched again. If we want it to activate naturally, we can make the value inside random very small. It's okay if it's very small, as long as the object's speed changes, its dynamics are activated. This is in customs. It's also very important. These knowledge points will be explained in great detail later on. The third way is to initiate collision, which is very important. Let's take a look at how we can delete this random value and completely create a new sphere. We add simulation tags to this sphere for collision problems. At this time, we play the default situation where these little curbs won't fall unless the sphere touches them. Then we can see they will drop. This is very useful. Touch it, it will fall. Let's continue to look down as we take a serious look at this sphere. After the study needle, we let it move here. We collide there. When encountered, it will fall. Our sphere also has another form. It just says it can detect it has already collided. We can set it like this. We choose inside this sphere. In dynamics, we can see there are three properties. The first property is to turn it off. When it's off, it's a collider. It can collide. The second attribute is to turn it on. In this case, it will become an active, rigid body, and it will fall. We can see it falling. The third form is to detect what exactly, it's like it doesn't exist, like air. Except when it hits these little cubes, the cubes know you've touched me. You have no effect on me. Play it again. That's the idea. These little cubes can detect that our sphere has touched them, so I need to fall. But these small cubes do not interact with the sphere. Knowing these very basic parameters, let's look at this project. In statistics, I add a simulation tag inside the steel to this little cube. Then in the collision, I let it apply to myself. The independent elements are all these little squares. They are independent. And we have also added passive antibodies to the surface. Now we play, it will fall directly without the animation we just saw. Let's set it up then. In dynamics, we don't activate it immediately. We enable collisions. In other words, it activates when something touches it, enabling our playback. But he still activates it. The setup he had up. Just a little while after he left, it all falls down. Let me play it again to see. Exactly because of this, upon collision activation, it has a speed threshold. What does it mean? It's when we touch it lightly, it won't activate dynamics unless you encounter something particularly strong. Then it will activate dynamics. What exactly does it take to activate it? This value represents the extent of its collision. If you change it to 1000, that means you have to bump into it hard. That's when it activates, needing power. Let's continue to play. It's as if nothing happened to him. This is because although these small blocks intersect, they do not collide hard enough. At the beginning, the squares do not affect each other and are not together. But once we play, we will find that in some places, we will start that. The squares will be squeezed together, and inevitably, collisions will occur. If it collides, it will fall down. Let's look at this value again, the speed domain value. A constant speed means that it does not activate when its speed is less than a certain amount. Only when its speed exceeds this value will the dynamics be activated, meaning a gentle touch won't trigger it. As for this value, we can make it bigger. For example, change it to 100. Set to 110. Let's play it again. It won't fall unless it collides fiercely. Only then it will drop. If we can change it,
Goodbye.
now it hardly falls off. At this point, we can create a new aid company for us. Place it here. See you next time. Here, we'll give it a shot aimed at the cylinder's position. And when it gets here, I'll make it move to this place. Move to this place. Let's play it again. I added a tag for this aid. During the collision period, this cylinder will collide with these small squares. Let's play it again. The collision is quite a violent one. Yeah. So, it will fall if we think it hasn't touched. We can adjust it by placing the cylinder here. Let's play it again. When it hits, we can see this small square will fall down. Bodhisattva. Now, we need to set up this cylinder, making its dynamics detectable. At this moment, we can completely hide the cylinder. Then we play this weekend.
We can also authenticate this domain value. We've just
we set it to
started.
300 for 10,000 needles. To 160 frames, we can set it to 20. Play we can manipulate the positions of these key signs on the timeline
To change its form.
Then we increase the friction on the ground and also increase the friction for the small block. Do not let this slide on the ground too far. Well, this cylinder has a lot of room for imagination. Let's make the segmented altitude a bit higher. And we can also change the shape of this cylinder, or even copy it. Just started, it's right here. Enter a keyword, and then up to this point. Everyone, so we have numerous methods of operation. This operation is very flexible. Even if we can't always touch this cylinder, we can turn it off and shut down the cylinder itself. We can still do that. Directly add a small cube on top of it. Drag it while holding the Ctrl key. In other words, when copying this label here, I give this cube an injection. When you get here, move the cube down directly onto it. Hide it by double-clicking while holding the Alt key. Let's play it again. Very flexible. In this dynamic setting, there are also many points to note. As for whether the shape we adjust looks good or not, it largely depends on your proficiency with the software. Okay, that concludes the explanation of this shot's animation. Next class, we'll discuss materials, lighting, and rendering.